Imagine living in the 1800s, when trains ran on coal, factories filled the air with smoke, and the dream of clean, unlimited power seemed impossible. Then a man appears, saying he's discovered a brand new kind of energy. A force that comes from water, air, and even the vibrations of atoms themselves. He claims his machine can run forever, no fuel, no pollution, just endless power. His name is John Ernst Worrell Keely, and his invention was called the Keely Motor, or sometimes, the etheric force engine. For years, he amazed investors, baffled scientists, and promised to change the world. But when he died, his secret machine was opened, and what people found inside destroyed everything they believed. This is the story of the man who promised free power, and the secret engine that vanished. John Keely was born in Philadelphia on September 3, 1827. His childhood wasn't easy. He lost both parents when he was young, and spent much of his youth working different jobs, painting, carpentry, and even playing the violin to earn money. People described Keely as a charming man. He was talented with his hands and loved to tinker with machines. Friends said he could take apart any mechanical device and put it back together better than before. But what truly set him apart was his imagination. He believed the world was full of hidden forces waiting to be unlocked. By the 1870s, the Industrial Revolution was in full swing. Steam engines powered cities, telegraphs connected continents, and electricity was just beginning to show its power. In that era of invention, anyone with a big idea could become a legend, or a millionaire. And John Keely wanted both. He began telling people he had discovered a new physical force, something beyond steam, beyond electricity, a mysterious vibration he called the etheric force. In 1872 and 1873, Keely began showing his early prototypes. He claimed his motor could use a small amount of water and sound vibrations to release unlimited energy. He called it sympathetic vibratory physics. He told people that every atom in the universe vibrates, and if you could tune into those vibrations, like tuning a musical note, you could make the atoms themselves release energy. He compared it to a violin string that resonates with sound. To demonstrate, Keely built strange-looking machines filled with brass tubes, spheres, and gauges. When he struck tuning forks or blew into pipes, the machines hissed, spun, and rattled. Metal rods bent, pistons lifted weights, and sometimes heavy iron balls floated in midair. To the crowd, it looked like magic. Newspapers reported that Keely had found a way to turn 1 quart of water into enough power to drive a train from Philadelphia to New York. Investors were hooked. They imagined an end to the age of coal and oil, a world where energy was free and infinite. In 1874, Keely founded the Keely Motor Company in Philadelphia. The company promised to revolutionize industry. Thousands of investors bought shares, hoping to get rich when the etheric engine changed the world. Keely's lab looked like a magician's workshop, filled with pipes, gauges, strange cylinders, and large brass spheres. He would invite rich guests to private demonstrations. They watched him tap a tuning fork, turn a valve, and suddenly, metal parts would move and heavy machines would whir to life without any visible source of power. Some believed Keely had discovered the secret of perpetual motion. Others thought he had found a way to harness the ether, the invisible substance people once believed filled all space. Keely refused to reveal how his machine worked. He said the discovery was too valuable, and too dangerous, to share until investors paid enough for the patent rights. But that secrecy made scientists suspicious. They wanted proof. They wanted to measure input and output, check for hidden energy sources. Keely refused every test. Still, the demonstrations continued, and the myth grew. Keely became a celebrity. He was seen as part inventor, part prophet, a man who could change physics itself. Keely's way of speaking added to the confusion. He used complex, poetic language that sounded scientific but didn't mean much. He talked about interatomic etheric vibrations, molecular resonation, and sympathetic polar attraction. Reporters printed his words even when they didn't understand them. To a hopeful public, that sounded brilliant. To scientists, it sounded like nonsense. In 1884, Keely demonstrated his hydropneumatic pulsating vacuo engine to investors and claimed it produced 2,700 pounds of pressure from a single quart of water. The demonstration worked, or seemed to, and his investors doubled down. They wanted to believe. One major supporter was Clara Bloomfield Moore, a wealthy spiritualist and widow who funded Keely for years. She believed his discovery connected science and the divine, a bridge between energy, matter, and consciousness. She called Keely's work spiritual science. But while Moore saw Keely as a visionary, critics saw a conman. By the late 1880s, patience began to run out. The investors wanted a working engine they could sell. Keely kept promising, just a few more months. When skeptics asked to inspect the lab, Keely gave limited tours, always controlling what people could see. Sometimes he covered machines with cloths or refused to let visitors near certain pipes. The Scientific American magazine published skeptical reports. Engineers pointed out that his machines could easily hide compressed air tubes or hydraulic systems. In 1889, Keely finally applied for a U.S. patent #418-079, for his motor. But the document gave no useful details about how it actually worked. It was filled with vague descriptions about vibrations and sympathetic resonance. Then, after 25 years of promises, investors demanded results. Court cases followed. In 1895, a judge ordered Keely to show his motor to a panel of engineers. Keely delayed again and again. When reporters asked why, he said, "The world is not ready for my discovery." Keely died on November 18, 1898. After his death, the Keely Motor Company collapsed. Soon after, investigators entered his workshop to see what he had hidden for over 20 years. What they found shocked everyone. Behind the walls, under the floorboards, and through the ceiling, they discovered a network of hidden tubes connected to a large compressed air generator in the basement. The air system was cleverly built to be invisible during demonstrations, allowing Keely to power his machines without anyone noticing. When valves opened, the pressure moved pistons and turned wheels, giving the illusion of a mysterious new energy. All those etheric vibrations and sympathetic resonances were nothing more than the hiss of compressed air. The New York Times reported that the so-called etheric engine was a fraud of ingenious mechanical design. The Guardian later called Keely's story one of the greatest scientific hoaxes of the 19th century. His company's stock became worthless overnight. Even after the exposure, not everyone believed Keely was a fraud. Some followers claimed the investigators misunderstood his devices, that the air tanks were for safety or to stabilize vibration. Others insisted his true invention had been destroyed before anyone could see it. Conspiracy theories spread that big industry, the railroads or coal barons, had silenced him to protect their profits. But no evidence of suppression ever appeared. The truth was simpler: Keely was a master showman who understood human psychology. He knew how to blend science, mystery, and charisma into something people wanted to believe. He gave them hope, the dream of free power, of a future without limits. And in an age when science seemed magical, that dream was enough. Clara Bloomfield Moore continued to defend him until her death, publishing books trying to explain his etheric philosophy. His name even appeared in Theosophy, a spiritual movement that mixed science and mysticism. Some theosophists still argue that Keely glimpsed truths about vibration and matter that science would only later rediscover. But mainstream physics moved on. The discovery of quantum mechanics and relativity replaced the old idea of ether with proven theory. Keely's work faded into curiosity, a cautionary tale told in museums and skeptical journals. So, what can we learn from John Keely's story? First, it's a reminder of how powerful belief can be. Keely's investors weren't fools, many were educated and wealthy. But hope can cloud judgment. When something seems too good to be true, especially in science, it probably is. Second, it shows the danger of secrecy. Real science is about testing, repetition, and open results. Keely hid his process behind locked doors and fancy words. When there's no transparency, there's no truth. Third, it reveals how stories outlive facts. More than a century later, people still share videos and articles claiming Keely built a free energy motor that was suppressed. The myth continues because it taps into a deep human wish, the idea that someone, somewhere, has found the ultimate secret. And finally, it shows that failure doesn't always mean irrelevance. Keely's work, even if fraudulent, inspired others to explore vibrations, sound, and resonance. It pushed conversations about how energy could exist in forms we didn't yet understand. It's possible his imagination, not his invention, was his real contribution. There's another reason Keely's story fascinates us today. It sits at the border between science and showmanship, the same place where modern tech hype and startup promises live. Think about it, a man claims he can change the world with an unseen force. He holds press conferences, impresses investors, and keeps the details secret for safety reasons. That pattern repeats even now, from fake quantum startups to overhyped AI products. Keely was the 19th century version of fake it until you make it. Some historians even call him the first tech influencer, a man who used personality and persuasion more than actual results. He built a brand around mystery, and mystery sold better than proof. In that sense, Keely was ahead of his time. Today, Keely's workshop no longer exists. The remains of his machines are scattered, a few photos, sketches, and pieces of tubing kept in museums or private collections. One photo shows him proudly standing beside a complex network of pipes and gauges, smiling like he truly believed he had unlocked the power of the universe. That's the final mystery. Did Keely believe his own story? Was he a deliberate con artist, or did he convince himself his machine really worked? Some historians think he started as an honest experimenter, accidentally fooled by his own setups. Maybe early leaks of compressed air created effects he didn't fully understand. As investors poured in, pride and pressure pushed him to keep performing, even when he knew the truth. Others think he was always a fraud, a mechanical genius who designed illusions so perfect they fooled even engineers. We'll probably never know for sure. The word ether may sound outdated now, but in Keely's time, it was mainstream science. Most physicists believed that light and energy traveled through an invisible substance filling all space, the luminiferous ether. It wasn't until Einstein's theory of relativity, decades later, that the idea of ether was proven unnecessary. By then, Keely's etheric force had become a symbol of how wrong ideas can inspire right questions. Even though his motor never worked, Keely's story lives on in physics museums, skeptic websites, and New Age communities that still talk about vibrational energy. It reminds us that science is not only about discovery, but also about doubt. John Ernst Worrell Keely died with his secret intact, or maybe with nothing to reveal at all. His machines rusted away, his company vanished, and his name became a warning taught to engineers and historians alike. But his story is unforgettable because it captures something deeply human, our hunger for miracles. When you see an invention that promises the impossible, remember Keely, the man who promised to free humanity from fuel, who wowed the world with his mysterious motor, and whose secret died with him. He may not have changed the laws of physics, but he changed how we tell stories about invention, belief, and deception. This was John Keely, the man who promised free power, and the secret engine that vanished. We dive deep into forgotten inventors, lost technologies, and the strange stories history tried to erase. Click subscribe, ring the bell, and join us as we uncover the next hidden story from the past.